Hello everyone, it is Kelsey from HIITBURN.com and we have a very special guest with us today. We have Eric Gittenstein from MF Tasty Food Cart here in Portland, Oregon. We're really excited because he is going to cook some amazing dishes for us today.
Hey, so today's recipe is going to be some coffee rub brisket with some sweet potato mash and a jam of roasted pepper and caramelized onions. This is our piece of brisket that's going to get seasoned. Really nice piece of brisket. Did the full side. Whatever your grocery store has, just go for it. You can get something that's a little bit on the fattier end. It's just how they break it up. I would just look through the pieces. Or you can buy the whole side if you have a big group of friends coming over. Up to you. So really, all we're doing, salt, black pepper. And what we have here is a little seasoning blend of some smoked paprika, coffee, and brown sugar, and then onion powder, garlic powder, basically anything you would think of for like a barbecue kind of thing. That's the vibe we're going for. And so really you're just gonna season evenly on each side. I forgot a cool container for my salt, so I'm just gonna put it in my hand, do it this way. Either way, key component, seasoning hand that's touching the protein. Don't mix and match, otherwise you've just ruined all your spices. So every side, you want it evenly coated. Don't be afraid to go heavy on the salt because it's just something that is gonna kind of cook out and boost whatever braising liquids you actually put in it. Also, the higher you season, the more it's gonna distribute with less. So if you are concerned about being overly salty or anything like that, this is gonna hit less of the meat than if I do this. I use the same amount. So either way, it's going through, kind of pat it in too. Just make sure that it really coats, because the worst thing is that you just spend all this time seasoning it and then you pick it up and it's like not really sticking, and then you gotta do it a second time. Unless you're into wasting time, then do it that way. So anyways, seasoning blend, coffee, a little bit of brown sugar, really just, it's the tiniest bit, because what it's gonna help do is it's gonna caramelize on the outside, kind of lock in flavor, and then it's gonna counterbalance the spice and smoke from the paprika. But we're not trying to make like candied brisket, it's just like a little tablespoon. All right, so that guy's ready to be cooked. Okay, so now we're gonna sear the brisket. Basically all I've done, medium bodied pan, nothing that can't go in an oven. Or if you wanna do some more dishes, you can sear it in a pan and then put it in a roasting pan, cover it that way. Might be a little bit easier to work with. I'm lazy, I don't like doing dishes. So anyways, this has been on medium-high heat. We're just gonna kind of feel the heat's like coming through it. The biggest thing is you don't wanna put a cold protein in a cold pan because you're not gonna get that nice sear that you want to see. Once the pan's heated up, all I'm doing is I'm adding like a couple tablespoons of blended oil, swirling it around the pan just to make sure that the surface is covered. And so you'll see like a little bit of a sheen, and then you know it's ready. Reason that I'm using a blended oil instead of an extra virgin olive oil for this type of cooking is extra virgin olive oil has a lower smoke point. So if you're doing searing, grilling, stuff like that, it's not necessarily the best one because it's less forgiving and you can essentially scorch everything, and then you have tasted weird oil. So what we're gonna do is skin side down first. We're just gonna let that guy cook for a little bit. Heat up on that. And so it's gonna kind of brown, and it's a big thing when you're braising that you wanna sear all sides of the protein that you're doing. What that does kind of helps keep the flavor and juices in the meat as it cooks, and it's gives it a better texture. Guys, good. So we're gonna check this. And the biggest thing is if it's not ready, it's going to stick. But as you can see, it's kind of formed like a nice crust. You got the spices going, smells awesome. I stand here looking real casual. Maybe do one of these. So I see how this one's kind of pulling still. So I'm gonna give it like another 30 seconds or so, just really get the texture in. And we're gonna flip to the other side. You can do it in a clockwise rotation. The only reason that I'm waiting to do the fat side last is it's gonna release a lot more juice. It's something also that when you finish it for roasting, the heat's gonna drip out. If you put it fat side down, then that's gonna go into your liquid. If you have fat side up, then that's gonna melt down and flavor your protein, and it's just gonna be even more awesome. And also some of this fat's gonna render out too, so you can use that as a substitution for your oil. You just have to be a little bit more careful as you watch it. All right, so this guy's got a little bit of color. We're gonna put it down, fat side up like I mentioned, and we're gonna add our braising liquids, which for this one, we're gonna continue with the coffee theme. And got a little cold brew right here. The biggest thing with your braising liquids is you want it to be able to almost cover everything, but not so it's stewing. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna cause circulation. All that liquid's gonna cook, but it's gonna do from a more even perspective. We got a little bit of beef broth as well. You can do whatever you want with it, or mix in whatever you want. If you want something a little bit lighter, I would go chicken stock instead of beef broth. But for this, we're just gonna amplify all these flavors. So this is gonna cook for a second. I'm gonna get rid of these. And then once this is done, all we're gonna do is we're gonna shut the heat off. Like I said, you could either transfer this to a roasting pan, or what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna wrap the top in foil and let it go in the oven. Big thing to remember if you do plan on doing this way is your saute pan's hot. So make sure you have a towel to pick it up with, because otherwise you're gonna burn your hand and then you're gonna drop all the things that you just spent a lot of time seasoning and cutting and searing. So, got some plastic wrap, or excuse me, foil. You can do plastic wrap first too. It actually will lock in a lot more moisture. I know some people get weird about that. But really you just want some sort of seal so that it can cook and circulate. And that guy looks good to go. So we're gonna throw it in the oven. All right, so this guy's going in the oven now. We have it at 350. It's gonna go for about 3.5, 4 hours, depending on the size of the cut. You can cut the time down a little bit if you go up to 400. Really is up to you on what you want, but low and slow, it's gonna cook out all the tough fat and pieces of a tough cut like brisket, and it's gonna make it a little bit more tender when you do finally have it. All right, so we're breaking down some sweet potatoes. Really big thing to do with this, since we're boiling them, it helps to keep a pot with a little bit of water readily available. So once you peel them, you chop them, you put them in, it helps them not oxidize if you get distracted and sitting out. Same idea with any potato, anything like that. If you gotta boil them or just have it ready, it saves you a lot of time, you get a better product. So peeler, sweet potato. Don't drop it. So all we're doing is just getting all the skin off. And then once we got that done, we're just gonna chop it into smaller sizes. Basically, you're not really going for anything pretty for what you're chopping it into. You just wanna do it into chunks that are evenly sized. And the reason for that is if it's all evenly sized, then it's gonna cook at the same time. If you have a big chunk and a little chunk, then you know, you're either gonna have a really undercooked big chunk and some gross tiny thing. It just really makes it easier to keep it consistent. Cool. All right, so we're all peeled. Clean up cutting board. I'm gonna chop some stuff. So like I said, just working into sizes that are even. Also, it can be a little daunting trying to chop through a big thing like that. We'll cut it in half and then break down from there. Like I said, you're just going for chunks. You want something that can lay flat on your cutting board. So as you saw when I was trying to break that, it kind of rocked back and forth. It's a really easy way to cut yourself. Make sure things are flat. It's a lot safer. Then just doing some big chunks. Nothing too crazy size. Goes right in the water. Makes that super unsexy sound, but also leaves you with a cleaner product. And sometimes half is not good enough, so something like this. Just gonna chop it. Second time, same deal. It's just to have that workable size that you can work with. All right, it's done. All right, so we've got the chopped sweet potatoes, put them on to boil. Let's turn on high, ignore it till it's soft, drain it, mash it. brisket's out of the oven. What I did was I pulled it out of the pan. I'm letting it rest on my cutting board. In the pan, I do have a little bit of braising liquid left, as well as some butter. I prefer unsalted. What you're doing is you're just adding a little bit to just kind of give a little bit more body to the sauce. You don't have to, you can reduce it, drizzle it over, up to you, depending on how much fat content you want. And then in this pot right here, we have the sweet potatoes that we boiled off, a little bit more butter, as well as some Greek yogurt. You know, if I'm not feeling healthy, I'll add sour cream. But since we're going for like more health-oriented dish, I would keep that on. So this is all mashed up. Basically just stirring everything, making sure it's all incorporated. And we're also gonna taste to make sure that it's seasoned properly. Add a little bit more salt. Some pepper on that. See what's going on. Same deal as before. Seasoning spoon, tasting spoon. Put that on. Cool, it's good. So, you guys are gonna go here. Also, you can totally just put this piece on a plate. If you're sharing, you can slice it up. If you wanna just slice it at a bias, what that means is just an angle instead of straight on. It's just gonna look a little more visually appealing to you. So, this should break up a little bit more. Actually gonna flip that over. We're gonna trim against the grain. It's gonna give us a couple pieces. And if you want, you can trim the fat cat off. It's up to you. It's really about like, you know, how much fat you actually want in the dish. So really all you gotta do after that is plate. So I'm gonna do a little bit of this peppery sweet potato mash. Center plate right there. Take a couple pieces of brisket. Throw that on. Then we got a little sauce action that's gonna go on top. So, said, a little liquid is going on. Pour this guy over. Kind of want this to almost like rim the plate. And then you can kind of just move everything around in that sauce. Then we got some of our pepper and onion jam to go on top. So that's gonna go wherever you want. Really, it's just about having the contrast of flavors. Then we make it more visually appealing. And then we got some chopped herbs. And that's that.
All right, so I am very much ready to try this one. I've been waiting all day for this, so I'm super excited. Thank you, Eric, for putting this together. Okay, so let's get a little bit of the sweet potatoes, some peppers, and some brisket. Wow, that is absolutely incredible. I could eat this every single day. Thank you so much, Eric, for putting this together and taking the time to make these recipes.
Yeah, no problem, that's fun.
Yeah, so make sure you try this recipe out, guys. It is so, so good. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our daily videos. And if you're ever in Portland, Oregon, make sure you visit Eric at MF Tasty Food Cart. His food is amazing, obviously. All right, well, thank you so much for joining, and we will see you tomorrow.